Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, or just hello. Well, I haven't done a video on the UK and Brexit and all that chat for a long time. So I saw this piece in a newspaper, and then I took a look at a couple of more, like The Independent, for example. I'm watching it now, taking a look, and I found this piece very interesting. So let me ask you something. You in the UK, as far as I can see and as far as people tell me, you have been dealing with some serious issues, you know? Uh, don't be mistaken, okay? We have issues in EU too, okay? Everyone is suffering with all of this economical turmoil and the wars, let's say it like this, and all of that. But, whenever I speak with either my friends, other YouTubers, when I see their videos, when I talk to people online, people in the United Kingdom are always complaining about, for example, energy prices soaring, food prices soaring, everything getting more expensive and more difficult. So I honestly believe that people are going through some issues, some trouble, more so than before. Okay, because when you hear someone tell you something, you can either doubt it or doubt that it is that extreme for that person to be claiming to have some difficulties. In this case, economical difficulties. But when you hear a chorus telling you the same thing with different backstories, with different angles, you start to think, well, there is something behind all of this. So I honestly believe that people are going through trouble, into issues. And then, surprise, surprise, King Charles, the current monarch of the United Kingdom, his personal fortune has risen 30 million pounds to 640 million pounds last year. So the king is 30 million plus wealthier, and he probably isn't feeling any of those issues you common folk in the street are suffering. You know, this is interesting too. This was both in the Independent and in the other two newspapers that I read. Uh, right now, the fortune of uh, Charles, not my king, I won't call him a king. No, I have no kings. The personal fortune of Mr. Charles Windsor is now equal to the combined wealth of Richie Sunak, the former chancellor, and his wife. Interesting. Now, let me just have a sip of water. Hmm. he's tied with another person in the 238th place in the list of the UK's 350 wealthiest individuals and families when he was the 258th in 2024. Now, of course, he inherited his mom, dear old mom, portfolio, meaning he inherited most of those uh, rights, call it whatever you want, from dear old mom. When mom passed away, and he, without doing nothing, inherited all. He's 76. Poor guy. He's starting his job when most of people are already retired. So he's a pre-retired king. Let me see. Oh, private estates of Sandringham in Norfolk, Balmoral in Aberdeenshire, that war from the king. Now it says okay. Hmm. The Crown Estate, of course, soaring profits thanks to wind farm deals, the Duchy of Lancaster State, and the Crown Jewels. But Crown Jewels. We still also have the Crown Jewels of our deceased kings. You know, they are in a museum earning us money each and every day. Oh, minus Sundays. Usually museums close on Sunday. Pardon me. Except in extraordinary occasions. And listen to this. The late Queen's wealth was estimated in 370 million pounds. I'm always talking about in pounds, so it's easier for an English listener, a British listener to understand. 370 million 2022. Charlie was a bit not so wealthy, 270 million more than mom. And now he rose from 610 million to 640 million pounds in 2025. Oh, hmm. Sunak and his missus, they lost 11 million pounds. That is why they are tied. Oh, this is interesting. This is in the Independent. This part. Uh, since he left Downing Street, the former Prime Minister has a part-time role teaching what at Stanford University, and he signed up to the Washington Speakers Bureau. And the couple launched a charity to tackle problems in the UK. Oh, how charitable of them. Imagine how charitable they would be if they all paid taxes and if the king did not own the wealth of the state. Imagine that. Mhm. Of course, Mrs. But this is old news, no? Here, Mrs. Murty has a stake in Infosys, the Indian IT giant, co-founded by her billionaire father. Mm. As the Prince of Wales, Charles received a private income of around 23 million a year from the Duchy of Cornwall. That's convenient. Hmm. It was used in part for non-official expenditure for himself and his family, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. Okay. Let me tell you what we did to kings here. First of all, the kings here had a more active role in the governance of the country. They were responsible to having decent governments and decent policies. We were, however, a parliamentary monarchy. So people elected representatives to a parliament, and then the king he held the executive branch of the government. Parliament would propose laws and blah blah blah, but eh, it really didn't work that well, except in certain areas, uh, because the king he pretty much did whatever he wanted. You know, he liked his money, he liked his women, he liked to hunt, and I'm not going to say that they were bad or evil or whatever. No, here in Portugal we really didn't ever had evil kings. We you have to be honest and speak the truth. Okay, they did, however, had extremely evil ministers and extremely evil people in government. But end of the game, they were responsible. They had a social contract with the people. It was their duty to keep people fed, happy, and at peace, and to defend the country. And our kings, since the late I don't know, around the year 11750, after that period of the French Revolution, they were weak, pathetic fools. You know, in this case, the latter kings, they were paid puppets of the British. Again, I will repeat this: they were paid puppets of the British. Have no doubts about it. Even after this, during the first years of the Republic, until we decided to participate in World War One, that paid influence was still remarkably strong. So this is how the British stole what we had stolen or what we had colonized or received in many parts of the world. This is how they used our former trading hubs in India to conquer the entire subcontinent and enslave India. We never wanted to enslave. No. We wanted to make money. We wanted to produce wealth. There was never this urge of subjugating other people in the Portuguese colonial movement. If we found a place where we could install and colonize, like for example in Brazil, we did it. We built cities and whatever. But even in terms of racism, we were never that big on it. In Macau, we married Chinese women. In India, we married Indian women. In Africa, we married black women. In Brazil, there is to this day a lot of Brazilians with Indian blood because we married Indian women. Because we really didn't care about that. We just wanted to make a profit, to make money, and worry about more important things than questioning those types of things. Other than we committed crimes. Of course we did. In a country with such a long history as ours, it would not be expected for crimes and criminals to appear. And the main difference in our history is that we teach the good and the bad. And we do not transform people in creatures outside of their concrete time. I will explain this concept. It's like this. When, for example, you are explaining a teacher, when the teacher, for example, is explaining to a class uh, an historic figure like Afonso de Albuquerque, who was a notorious navigator, tradesman, explorer of Portugal, especially in the Indian Ocean area and Asia. First of all, we put the man in his time, okay? His culture, what he was doing. For example, we people in the class, kids, know this. He was a great man. When he came back to Portugal, he did a lot of good, and he founded cities. Okay, he founded businesses. He connected cultures. He connected China, Japan, India. He was one of the key founders of that movement, of that trading movement. You know, this is why today the Japanese have the tempura and have the castella cake, and we have our rice has become such an important part of our diet because we learned both in China and in Japan, but more so in Japan. I have to say this according to history. We learned that to use rice in dozens, hundreds of plates. This is why to this day Portugal still is one of the countries in Western Europe that more rice consumes. And then we took that rice to Italy and we brought back the way the Italians prepare coffee. Do you see the connection? We connected cultures. Hmm? You would probably not have a nice risotto today if it was not for a person, an example, like Afonso Albuquerque. Do you understand? But then we talk about what he did and how ruthless he was sometimes. He was a big guy. He was a warrior also. Was a tradesman. He was a polite person apparently. But he was also a ruthless warrior. And when he arrived at India, the Mughals, the Muslim Asian rulers, dominated the subcontinent. And first, he was nice. He said, let me install in these cities. And it was, I think, I don't recall the names, but it was Diu, it was Calcutta, it was Goa, several cities that we held until the mention English stole it from us. But who cares? Past. But and the Mughals said no, and they attacked him. Now, Fosdalbkerk spent months or even years simply doing this, completely destroying any naval uh, transportation or trading of the Mughals in India. He destroyed cities. He razed cities. He stole. He pillaged. He did it all. So he was also a bastard. But we learned this. And that is not a reason for the man to not have a statue, a book, because we show these people not as gods, not as entitled people. We show these people as humans. So, going back to the part where I was talking about the Portuguese kings, our kings were not expected to be perfect, to be godlike, but they were expected to be humans and to at least do some good. Okay? They were expected to do a job. And when they did not do their job, and when they started to react with violence to the legitimate claims of the people, when they began to be called out on their corruption and weakness, they reacted with violence, extreme violence, really, from deporting criminals, so-called criminals, most of them political opponents, to Africa to either die or be stuck in some African village for their entire life, and forgotten, or they killed them crossing the river Tejo in Lisbon. Sometimes they fell off the boat. Accidents happen. So what did the people do? Resentment grew, extremism grew, and one day they were parading around in their car, and both the king and the crown prince were shot. Their the teenage prince, the youngest brother, he survived them. So did the queen, and they were able to hold on to power for 2 years more, until 1910, when enough was enough. And don't worry, the retainers of the Portuguese king, the English. I will say the English because that is how we say it. We don't say the British. We call them English. That is why we differentiate between a Scottish person and an English person, because we call them the English. And today you see who is doing what. But they were waiting for him to escort them to his golden retreat. And off he went. And now, what has happened? The empire of the British, long gone, gone. Stop it. It's gone. Okay? It's completely gone. Nothing remains of it. Not the soft power, not the riches, not the influence, nothing. Today, you only have relationships with the parts of your empire that the parts that used to be of your empire for convenience. If it's good for them, they will play the game. If not, they don't care. The Commonwealth, well, it's dying too, but you don't like to listen to that, now do you? Because the countries that compose the Commonwealth, they are diverging politically. They are aligning with other countries. And with the current stance of the UK aligning with the US, they will be diverging even more. Countries like Canada, for example, like South Africa, like Australia, even India, they will be diverging even more. And in a couple of decades, perhaps the games will still exist, but who knows? And the only question I have to make the British is this: how long are you going to take this? Because you understand me, I'm not calling for violence against the king, or if you like the figure of having a king, if you think it's nice to put on a cake or in parades or whatever. Because I also understand that the king really doesn't have any much political influence, you know? He's a bit of a figurehead. But how long are you going to take this? Having a person that is 640 million pounds worth while you toil and suffer. But not just you. I would understand if you voluntarily felt that way and wanted to be a subject of someone. But you're not just condemning yourselves, you are condemning your children, your grandchildren, you are condemning everyone. Would it be so hard to cut the king to size, to reduce his wealth? Would it? Not just the king, because I understand it's not just the king, okay? All those royal figures. Oh, they are good for tourism and this and that. My friends, we wasted the kings here and we still have the tourism. Like I told you, crown jewels and the museum. The palaces, beautiful and well preserved, are one of the things that tourists enjoy visiting and seeing. It's also good to make some cool movies, write some cool books, do some odd music, whatever. But we got rid of the parasite. And I'm not justifying the death of the king. In fact, I think we could have just cut him down to size and perhaps maintain that figure in the political organization. It would provide some more stability, like it happened, for example, in Scandinavian countries. It would have provided a little more balance if we adopted a system like theirs. But now there is no use in thinking about that. It's done, it's done. But I just thought it was important to make this video because I think these are serious questions. And remember, I'm an outsider, okay? I'm a Republican. And don't confuse me saying I'm a Republican with that crap in the US, okay? It has an entire different meaning in Europe. To be a Republican, it means to be a Democrat. To follow the rule of law and not having any kings or whatever, having a PR elected parliament to decide the whatever it's needed to be decided in the country. Okay, but I think you should ask yourselves these questions. You should ask yourself also, why are you not taxing the ones that have the most money? Okay, the ones that have more land, the ones that have big houses, the ones that have money for lavish vacations, for whatever, Because again, and I will say this 1,000 times again, whatever, I am not a leftist. I have never been, because I think it's an extreme just like a right winger is an extreme. I think balance is essential. Balance in education. But you don't seem to be very educated. If you admit this, so I don't. Why are you tolerating this? Why are you not saying cut his wealth? Doesn't need it. We are paying for everything, right? So cut it. Instead of siphoning those profits to his personal estate, get that money and invest it in the country. You need to pay. Look, create a fund, and from that fund, pay the king's expenses, and the rest goes to the people. The king can have a salary to buy whatever he wants to buy to take care of his hobbies. If he's in an official business of the state pays. If he goes to visit a foreign country, whatever, it's the king, it's the state's duty to do it. If he needs security guards, it's the state's. But it is all written, it is all known, and there isn't this Byzantine or Byzantine rule. You still have a state that thinks it has an empire. And like it or not, before Brexit, you were leeching on Europe. You were blocking laws, for example, that would endanger the UK's position as a gateway into Europe. Right now, what is happening without the UK in Europe? Other countries are benefiting from it. And not just one country, not just two countries, all of the countries. The Netherlands benefiting, France benefiting, Germany benefiting, even Portugal benefiting, Spain benefiting from it. Why? Because we don't have people like Mr. Stallman cozying up to Mr. Trump. And because we don't have Nigel Farage screaming in the background. And we don't have that bunch of incompetent. Do we have problems? Of course we have problems. I have said this 1,000 times. Yes, there are problems in Europe. Yes, there are issues in Europe. But that does not change the fact of what is happening in your country. When I see the problems of other people, I also see mine. And something happens, I look at my attitude, I look at my actions, and I do my mea culpa. But you know, no, it's always someone else's blame. Do you know who always is saying that too? MAGA in the US. You want to know some other people that also said it? The Nazis. Hitler did not come out of the shadows. He came out because both France and the UK imposed conditions to Germany that were clearly, I say this without a doubt, and I am always reminded of this. I am not a right winger, but the actions of the UK and France and other countries, but UK and France, they cause the environment in Germany to be ripe for someone like Hitler to appear. If it wasn't Hitler, it would be a communist dictatorship or whatever. Someone would come. Someone would come. Because instead of after the war to integrate Germany into the world economy, to stop pressing over the Germans to we need to keep them down. We need to keep them down. No, you don't need to keep them down. The Germans learned their lessons. I will never forget the words when I was a kid. I don't remember the name of the man, but when it was around the time that we were negotiating the EU, and a German diplomat said this: "I want my neighbor to be wealthy and prosperous, and I want him to be at peace. I want to be able to sell my goods to him, and I want him to sell his goods to me. I want to help him so he can help me." And this is what people like Mr. Trump don't understand. Because you never had a war on your land. Oh, we had the Civil War. Oh, we had Vietnam. Fuck off. You did not have. Did you have the French trying to invade your country 3 times, like we did? Were you 60 years under the dominance of Spain that treated Portugal as a colony? Well, will you? Did you have weak kings that were dominated by Britain and that sold off half of our our economy to them? Did you? No. You don't know. Did you lost almost half of your country after a war because the Russians wanted to push the border and they stole lands from Poland and they installed the Poles in your land? And I'm not talking about who deserves what. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about facts. The people that killed the Jews, those that could be punished and caught, were punished and caught. And if you say Germany didn't learn the lesson, go fuck yourselves. Yes, they learned. Yes, they learned. I'm half German. Half German, or whatever the fuck you want to call me. I know it. And I heard the stories. So, again, just a minute, please. So, again, I want to ask the British this. Why are you putting up with this? Why are people, some of them are growing hungry, some of them are growing cold, all people are choosing between heat and food? You are passing through a whirlwind of incompetent governments. Why are you putting up with this? Do you like to vote in these people? Do you like to vote in people like Nigel Farage? Do you think he will offer you any solution? No. He is telling you what you want to listen to. And if you start saying, oh, you're criticizing labor, oh, you're following the narrative, blah, 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 blah. What? Is Tama doing a splendid job? Licking the boots of Trump? The first effing saying, going to try not to swear so much. The first effing thing Starmer should have done when he rose to power was to say this: my friends, comply with the TCA, 100%. The government, no, we can't, no, no, you're going to do this. The second thing he should have done is to tax the rich, tax the hell out of them. Oh, they will leave, oh, they will go away. Fuck them. They are producing wealth inside of your country and siphoning it out. If your country stops making a profit for them, you know who are the first people that will leave? The ones with money. And if you vote in people like Mr. Farage, what will you get? You will get a guy that doesn't know anything about governing. The second thing you will get is he will spread his legs wide to whatever madness the Americans want to do. Or the Russians, even worse. Or both. Hey, double jammy. And you will never get anything from Europe. The doors will close. And if right now they are not permanently closed, they will be permanently closed. And not for perhaps a decade or two, if you play your cards right now, perhaps in 15 years or something like that, you will be able to act and try to enter the EU again. It won't be 15 years. It will be decades, generations. I'm talking about this because this is a symptom of a disease. And I'm sorry for prolonging this video for so long, but I think this is important. And I'm not telling you I am some kind of holier than thou that holds the truth. I'm not saying this. I'm just making questions, asking things, presenting facts, showing things. You don't believe me that he is now worth 640 million pounds? Then go see it. You don't believe his portfolio was just X percent and now it's Y percent? Go see it. You don't believe that the British, sorry, there I go again, the British were controlling the Portuguese kings and corrupting our government? Go watch some history. Ours, not yours. Because your history, sorry, you don't teach history. You teach narratives. This is this has gone long enough, I think. So I will leave you at this. I just think this is important because first you need to heal yourself. You have to look in. You have to see your problems. You have to see your attitudes. You have to see all of that. And only after that, only after you solve your shit, can you pass judgment on others. And when you know you can pass judgment, you won't do it. You will try to correct them. Nudge them, nudge people to the good side. And the good side is the side of logic. You want to know why you have so many migrants in your country? I will tell you. I will tell you what Farage, what the Tories, what Labour, what the Lib Dems, what the Greens don't tell you. Number one, you stopped being apart, and you were reluctant members of it, but you were still members of it, you stopped being a part of the EU. Hence, the entire area of the EU and the countries that are associated with the EU, they have zero obligations in this matter towards you, just like in others. Zero. So, there is no safe country. No. Secondly, France offered to let you build a center in Calais and process your migrants there. Meaning, people would arrive safely in a place. You would see if they had conditions or not to enter the UK, and if they did, you let them in. If they didn't, you would be repatriated. But the Tories started the conversations, and then they were expecting that France would take care of the repatriation, meaning French taxes and indirectly EU taxes would pay for your shit. And naturally, they told you to F off, just like you would tell us to F off. Because we cannot be spending our hard earned money with your problems. Do you understand this? Do you reform voters understand this? Just think, for God's sakes. Just think, you would tell your mate, hey, go buy me a kebab and a beer and make it snappy. And he says, okay, I don't mind going to buy, but you're going to give me money to buy a kebab and a beer from me too, and you are going to pay yours. And you say, no, you are going to pay all of it. It's the same bloody logic. Third, you want to know how this situation could be solved? If you don't want the help of the EU, then you have to create your own centers in your own country, receive people, the same business, process them, and then repatriate those that you don't want in your country. As far as I'm concerned, you can repatriate everyone. It's your decision, not mine. It's your responsibility, not mine. Do you want to know what it is if, for example, the UK does what Mr. Farage is telling of sending them back to France? It's an act of war. It is technically, it is politically an act of war. Just the simple fact that this happens would cause immediately a breakdown in relations. And not even the military agreements we have with the UK, for God's sakes, even Portugal has military agreements with the UK. We have an alliance that is older than many countries in Europe, a military alliance. The fact is, all of this would end. What can this entail? Expulsion of UK citizens from the EU, recall of embassies, closing of embassies, closing of all business ties, closing of all military cooperation, intelligence cooperation, all of it. And you sit around, listen to that man saying this shit, and you don't look at him and tell him, are you fucking nuts, you bloody idiot? Instead, look, if he was saying this, for example, we need to build 50 centers and we need to allocate money to deport these people, even for his racist reasons. He would be speaking logic, and then I would understand you. But when he says these things, and but not just you, it's the media, even the bloody king that earns 640 million pounds, he doesn't get up off his ass and he doesn't come and say, look, my friend, shut the fuck up. I'm the king. Or goes into the parliament and says, look, this guy is talking about committing illegal acts. Do your job. You're the ones governing the country. Do your job and stop this. He also didn't went to Mr. Starmer and ask him why he had ended the support for the most vulnerable people instead of taxing the richer. And you want to know why? Because he's earning 640 million pounds. What else can I say about this? I simply don't know why I make this effort to talk about these things and to make these videos. Maybe because, as you can see, I just sit near my camera and speak. And I always tell you, like I'm repeating myself now, fact check me, please. Fact check everything. And don't consider my opinion as the only opinion in the world. Consider my opinion just as something to make you think, because we are not all the same. But I question this, I question people because of this. How can you? Why are you unable? Why are you unable to see things? This is not the look. This is not a matter of culture. This is not a matter of education. This is not a matter of any. This is just simple common sense. Where is the money? Where is it going to? And why is it missing in here, here, and here? Why is this person saying this? If this would happen, this is common sense. This is not hard. This does not take years of understanding of experience or whatever, you know. Because I'm an older guy, I'm 50, for God's sakes. I don't feel it, but I am. So I have a lot of experience in life. But even my youngest nephew understands this. Even he is able to see this bullshit. I don't know. Well, again, sorry for the long rant. I I hope this at least helps you in any way. And I wish I could be positive, but I don't like to tell people comfortable lies. Just like I don't like those comfortable lies to be told to me. I prefer harsh truths. The truth. The truth, my friends. It's true that old saying, the truth will set you free. It's true. Because when you are true, when you don't lie, you don't fall into the illusion of trying to adapt the world to your narrative. You are forced to see the world as it is. And this is something that is lacking right now in many places in Europe. Like I said, it's lacking around here too, but especially in the UK, in the US. You are all lacking this. Sorry.